Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. I am Paul Tenerowitz, President of the Board of Trustees. Whether you're visiting here for the first time or have been a member for years, you're welcome here. Whatever faiths you've known, if any, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. We are invited to bring our whole selves to this worship service, our doubts as well as convictions, the pain and joy we have known, our longing for connection and understanding. Every part of you is welcome here. If you're signing in today for the first time, we're glad you've joined us and hope you will stay for informal conversation and breakout groups after the service. I have an announcement for today. For our online gathering water ceremony, which is next Sunday, please email Reverend Aaron a picture that represents the water of your soul. This could be a photograph or an image that you've created. Email to minister@uuutica.org by Wednesday. Let us open our hearts and minds to the experience of community and the wisdom of love.
Good morning. Make sure I'm not on mute, sorry. I'm Carol Gable, a member of the board and worship committee. I'm just so struck by the beautiful music we've already had this morning from members in our congregation. Thank you so much, Bob, Julia, and Patricia. It's just so beautiful. Our Reverend Aaron is not here with us today, but will be here next Sunday. I'm very pleased to introduce our guest speaker today, Master Sean Boutin. Sean is a certified Tai Chi Master who provides instruction at North Country Tai Chi, the school he opened in St. Lawrence County in 2013. Tai Chi is a sort of peace in motion, a sense of actions that calm the mind and heal the imbalances of our bodies. Sean earned his certification via intensive study with Grandmaster Aiping Cheng, one of the world's foremost authorities in Chinese martial arts. Prior to this, Sean earned a bachelor's degree at Hopkins University and master's at Cornell. I'd like to briefly tell you how I know Sean and why I invited him to speak with us today. I took Tai Chi classes from Sean for several years before moving here in 2018. This past March, I received an email from an old friend saying Sean was going to be teaching on Zoom so I could come back to school at North Country Tai Chi. I knew that I wanted to be able to maintain balance in my life while this crazy period was happening, so immediately signed up. Tai Chi is a lot of different things to different people, but for me, it's mostly about balance. Breathing in and breathing out, shifting from left to right, moving from toe to heel, experiencing the yin and the yang. Such simple things that I forget if I don't practice. Tai Chi does not require special equipment or athletic ability. It can be done alone or with others and heals and strengthens your body, mind, and spirit. People all over the world have been practicing Tai Chi for thousands of years, through worse times than these. While going through the movements last spring, alone in my room, but with others alone in theirs, I couldn't help but think how transcendent it was. And so I invited Sean to speak with us about this movement, this art form called Tai Chi, and I'm so very glad he accepted. Please join me now in singing our hymn of the month. Make sure you're on mute. What a wondrous love. Let there be light. Let it shine in dark places, in moments of pain, in times of grief, in the darkness of hatred, violence, oppression, where there is discouragement and despair. Wherever darkness is to be put to flight, let there be light. We'll now have together time with a wonderful reading from Stephanie.
Hi everyone, welcome to Together Time. Today we've got a great story for you. It is called I Am Peace, a book of mindfulness, and it's by Susan Verde with art by Peter H. Reynolds. There are times when I worry about what might happen next and what happened before. The thoughts in my head are like rushing water, and I feel like a boat with no anchor, being carried away. I give myself a moment. I take a breath, and then I tell myself, it's all right. Let's do that together real quick. We can give yourselves a moment, and we'll take a breath together. Tell yourself it's all right. It'll be all right. I feel the ground beneath my feet and steady myself. And start to notice the here and the now. My thoughts begin to settle. My mind begins to clear. I am peace. I can watch my worries gently pop and disappear. I let things go. I can say what I feel inside out loud. I know myself. I can share kindness with others. I make a difference. Think of something that you've done recently to make a difference, even something as small as feeding the birds. Oh, but what's happened? Some of the seeds have fallen to the ground. And from the seeds that fell, here comes up a plant. I can hug a tree and thank it for its beauty and strength. I connect to nature. Do you ever hug trees? A lot of you used to. I can watch the clouds make shapes against the sky. I know wonder. I can taste and smell and touch and hear and see what is all around me. I use my senses. I can feel my breath fill my whole body. I tune into me. Now the water is still. I have found my anchor, and everything is all right. I don't need to worry about before or after. I am in this moment. I am peace. Now, I share my peace with others and hope that it is carried away to those who need it. And I dream. We are peace. And that is the end of our story. There's an author's note here, and the other neat thing about this book is there is a guided meditation. So I'm not going to do the guided meditation at this together time, but I will put a link in the chat, and I will link it to another video where we do the guided meditation from I Am Peace. So we'll put that in the chat right now, and if you're interested after the service or at any time, you can watch that video. Until then, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for that wonderful story, Stephanie. This is the time for our offering. People may give online or send a check to the church. We know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this congregation. May we give in love and in hope. It is now time for our community candles, which is an opportunity for the congregation to be with one another as we mark notable things happening in our lives. If you would like to light a candle where you are, please do, and in frame if you would like. If you would like to briefly share about a significant event in your life, please unmute yourself, or you could type into the chat. And I'd like to light a final candle for any unspoken joys and concerns here with us today.
This is Kim Bywater. Our first reading today is called The Second Coming, Part 1, by William Butler Yeats. W.B. Yeats wrote The Second Coming in 1919 in the midst of the Spanish flu pandemic and a post-war Europe that was still in pain following the armistice. Yeats wrote this poem when his pregnant wife was in the hospital with a virus, and while armed conflict was overtaking Ireland in the Irish War for Independence, and armed insurrection was ubiquitous. Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming.
Our second reading is from The Full Understanding of Life by Zhuang Zer. This selection was written during the warring states period. This period of history was marked by uncertain politics, near constant warfare, and the uncertainty of sectarian division. Zhuang Zer, a father of the Chinese Taoist perspective, uses the figure of Confucius ironically to speak to the unexpected talents of finding one's natural center in the midst of seemingly insurmountable forces. Confucius was looking at the cataract near the gorge of Lu 22, which fell a height of 240 cubits, and the spray of which floated a distance of 40 li, producing a turbulence in which no tortoise, gavial, fish, or turtle could play. He saw, however, an old man swimming about in it, as if he had sustained some great calamity and wished to end his life. Confucius made his disciples hasten along the stream to rescue the man, and by the time they had gone several hundred paces, he was walking along singing, with his hair disheveled, and enjoying himself at the foot of the embankment. Confucius followed and asked him, saying, "I thought you were a sprite, but when I look closely at you, I see that you are a man. Let me ask if you have any particular way of treading the water." The man said, "No, I have no particular way. I began to learn the art at the very earliest time. As I grew up, it became my nature to practice it, and my success in it now is as sure as fate. I enter and go down with the water in the very center of its whirl, and come up again with it when it whirls the other way. I follow the way of the water and do nothing contrary to it of myself. This is how I tread it." Confucius said, "What do you mean by saying that you begin to learn the art at the very earliest time, that as you grew up, it became your nature to practice it, and that your success in it now is as sure as fate?" The man replied, "I was born among these hills and lived contented among them. That was why I say that I have trod this water from my earliest time. I grew up by it and have been happy treading it. That is why I said to you that to tread it has become natural to me. I know not how I do it, and yet I do it. That is why I say my success is as sure as fate."
It's time for you, Sean.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Carol, for wanting to share what it is that we've experienced since March. The first thing I'd like to do is just get a little show of hands of how many people have actually seen Tai Chi before. Okay, well, it's a slow-moving meditation that's done all over the world now. It originated in China. And it's a practice of learning how to flow like water. So you're going toward an extreme, but you don't go to that extreme. You hit a limit, and then you turn around and you come back the other way. So we learn how to make a limit into limitlessness by having us go in one direction, and then we have to convert into its opposite. So the Chinese, of course, call this yin and yang. So Tai Chi is like yin and yang in motion. That's an actual moving symbol. And there's always an aspect of an opposite at play whenever we're doing one thing. So what's really wonderful about this is I want everyone to just take a second with me. And I want to mention that you don't need to use your physical body to do this. Anyone can do this if you are breathing and you can hear me. So move to the edge of your chair if you can, if that's comfortable for you, it doesn't cause any problems with any medical conditions. And then place your hands down just gently on your knees. And if it's okay, if you don't get dizzy, you can close your eyes. If you do get dizzy, you can open your eyes. And then just like we did during story time, we're going to take a breath, breathing in, breathing out evenly. Again, in and out. One more. And if you're comfortable keeping your eyes closed, I want you to picture your Tai Chi class or the place you saw Tai Chi. For many of you, it'll be in a park, green grass, blue skies, butterflies and flowers, a light, gentle summer's breeze. Probably in a group, or perhaps you're on the seashore, a silhouetted figure at sunset, moving your breath with the waves, constantly renewing themselves, building and crashing, always in motion, constant change. One more breath. And we'll open our eyes. Now, chances are that's very 2019, isn't it? So the world has changed a lot. And one of the interesting things for me as a Tai Chi master who runs a Tai Chi academy in the county, and we have people from hours away from one another that practice as a school, was that suddenly we were challenged to say this little metric that we've learned to cultivate, this method of movement, a tool for which we can keep our balance, as Carol said. How can we do that when that is relying on equality and togetherness and oneness and the facility and access of space and time and heat in a closed building, right? Climate controlled, right? All of these things that we're so used to being comfortable in was suddenly pulled away, and seemingly we were all atomized and isolated, except we weren't. So I immediately went and started to think, well, how is it that our school could continue to be exactly what we are, with all the different preferences that will evolve, with all of the different needs that people have in terms of health and being able to leave their home? And how can we keep this practice, which has done so much to cure people and help their health over the years and help them come to peace? How can we maintain all of that, and how can we do it together? And then Carol breezed back into my life with so many other people who were far away from us that came back. And we evolved and changed in a Tai Chi way. Last week, we went back out for the first time to be indoors, in person, and half of our class is online still. So we're still together, and we're not just putting an image out there, we are still interacting as a group. So this sort of dialectical method is still present. To give a lecture on Tai Chi or Zen or Chan Buddhism, for example, is a little bit difficult to do because the experience is so important. It's not just an idea, it's not just a belief, it's a practice of embeddedness and embedded context. So if you're wondering why I selected the two readings that I selected today, it's a matter of perspective. We can all feel for Yeats. We've all felt that in the past year, almost universally, a sense of loss, a sense of challenge, a sense of fear, concern. We may have lost loved ones, people we care about. We have worried. There may be loss of income. There may be loss of normalcy. So everyone has experienced this at one point in time, and it does feel like the center can't hold, that the falcon can't hear the falconer, that things fall apart, and that chaos is unleashed on the world. And we all hope for that light, that sunny day, that ability to rise again in peace and put together good governance. And I wanted to tie that in with Confucius, because this is a story from a Taoist text by Zhuangzi. And Zhuangzi is employing Confucius beautifully in a Taoist way. Of course, Confucius is secular ethics, morality, good governance, how to be in a society, how we can help be together and equal. And Confucius is still a really prominent voice in modern China. But Lao Tzu, as the Taoist, alongside the Buddhists, the Chinese Buddhists who import the Indian Buddhism and change it to make it Chinese. All three of these work together. And here they've set Buddha aside for a second. And what they've done is they've used Confucius and the Taoist together talking. And what the Taoist is showing us is that there is a practice that you can cultivate and move with. And from moving from that center, then no matter what comes, even the most terrible forces of nature, the most awesome, the most powerful, the things that seem they can't be in control, you realize that the way to hold center is to not grip and attach and hold on to it. So that is the first thing, that when things start to go, you have to go with it. That doesn't mean you have to agree with the waterfall. It just means you're in the waterfall. And so when you're in the waterfall, steer as much as possible. And so he talks to us about this, and Confucius is concerned because, just like Yeats, it seems like things are being drowned. It seems like this man in that moment may be mad, may be sick, may be hurt, may have tried to kill himself, Confucius thinks, right? What great calamity. And when they find him, he's disheveled and dancing and the perfect Taoist fool almost, just fine with life, coming out of the water. Well, what's your problem? I've just been swimming. How can I help you, sort of thing, right? So, and here's Confucius. Now, Confucius is the rationality guy, right? He wants reason, he wants ideas, he wants order. He has an entourage of graduate students with him. He sent the graduate students to fetch the man out of the water, and he's here to study the awesomeness of nature, to control it to some degree, right? And so he's sitting here saying, how can you control this? And yet you seem to be so controlled. So what I wanted to introduce here is to say, without being able to teach you Tai Chi, I'm not going to be able to actually show you this other metric that becomes available, that Carol has experienced, that allows her to come to balance no matter what is happening. And it's, I wouldn't say the most exclusive, it's one method that so many people have used in so many different religions and cultures over time to find that center. Just like the Quakers say that there's peace at the center, right? So do the Chinese, right? So this idea of peace at the center, but what happens if it's not a sunny day? What happens if you've lost your job? What happens if your loved one is pregnant in the hospital with a virus? It's really hard at that moment for someone to say, hey, the Buddha says don't worry about attachment, right? So you'll be okay. No one believes that in that moment. They feel their center being torn apart. So what I do in that moment is what I did when I found out our school was going to close, but it wasn't going to close, was to take a breath in and take a breath out. Now, I was down in Florida in Key West. Strangely enough, someone else is from Key West, right? We were in Key West and Miami on vacation, and I had packed these just in case. And so what I did is I headed down to the beach and I started filming our future. I filmed an online video library, and then I started to learn and figure out how we could host a school online. And by the time we'd returned at the end of the weekend without missing a day, we continued practice. So what I'd like to do very briefly is to switch cameras and invite you, if you would like, to spend 3 or 4 minutes with me as if it was your first day, because at North Country Tai Chi, we have a practice. We say, we are each other's practice, and your first day and last day is the same. So we're gonna, if you'd like, you can stand up. I'll switch videos. It'll look like I'm freezing for a second, but I'm really not. And if you need to sit, I put this stool here in case I ended up giving the sermon from here. I decided to be a little closer to you so you could see my face. But if you were seated, you want to sit on the edge of the chair. And what we're about to do, you can do too. So if you can stand though and would like to or prefer to, we'll come up and we're going to do something called gathering chi. We're going to breathe in. Breathe out. You can think about chi as being the animation of life. If children are here, we say it's like the Star Wars Force. We're going to breathe in, breathe out. And so here we're a unity, working with all of those acupressure meridians that the acupuncturist or the traditional Chinese medicine doctor is trying to help you with, the herbalist, the meditator, the martial artist. Now I want you to pull up halfway and we'll start dealing with some opposites. So I'm going to turn my top palm toward heaven, bottom toward earth. So we're interested in balancing between heaven and earth. And then we have to give each side its turn. So we're going to learn how to give balance to the whole body. Okay, now none of that was Tai Chi. It was Qigong. But we'll start in Tai Chi right now with just placing one hand here. We'll isolate on a spot called the Dantian. And we learn about different centers in the body energetically, sort of potential areas to cultivate. And here I've got my yin restorative palm into my own sort of Pooh Bear belly, right? We want to think a nice big full belly. The Taoist wanted you to live in your belly. But then I also have this beautiful heart center. This is that virtue center. You could think the Amitabha Buddha or the Sacred Heart of Christ, beaming forward with love for all of humanity. No selfishness, again with the yin palm. And what we're going to do is we're going to play the symbol of the yin and yang. We're going to go to the corner, and here we reach a limit. So without forcing, we relax the wrist away. And suddenly that limit opens to limitlessness, and we play back the other way by dropping below. And like fingers off the side of a canoe, water moving between the webs of your fingers, we come to the other side. And then our waist turning us back to a center, rooted in the feet, directed by the waist, and expressed in the hands. And we spin and play again. And here we are closed, yang out, opening to yin, becoming yin. Now fully in, the water moves through you. We start climbing again. We start to close. We start becoming yang. And as we move to the limit again, fully yang. Becoming yin. Add in your other hand. Go off to the side. Top hand, fully closed. Bottom hand, fully open. A moment of becoming. Yang, opening to yin. Yin, filling to yang. Taking turns. One becoming the other. Constant change. Constant play. Okay, now if you're in my class and it was our first day, I'd teach you how to walk and teach you how to do this movement called waving hands like clouds, which is a process and a practice of coming in touch with my own sensitivity. And as you stay from year to year, the last class, the most advanced students, what ends up happening there is you've learned to cultivate such a degree of sensitivity, and we become exposed to the layers of the onion that we have as a potential for opening ourselves to the reality that we're all connected with other people, that we all are alike with other people. Even the ones we disagree with the most or seem to give us the hardest trouble, they are bliss and we are bliss. And so this is opening your capacity inside to experience that balanced meridian, which creates that openness. The word for teacher is Lao Tzu, which means old child. You become again like a child your meridians clear like the acupuncturist working on you every day. And you learn to do this yourself. And as you come to this openness and safety and security in yourself, you realize it's something that you won't be distracted from and you need to maintain. And so the things that happen, the calamities, the whirlpools, there's less panic, there's less fear, it's still there. There's less of a need for throwing in the towel, taking a break, or just saying, well, we'll have to wait till this is all over. And you just go, I can't stop maintaining that metric. And so it's something that happens alongside things happening. And what ends up happening is the falcon can still hear the falconer, right? You can still hear things working out. Things aren't necessarily falling apart because you're holding center. And if you can hold center by not gripping it, but by being it, knowing it's this undulating thing, then there's less to fear. Say, okay, this is darkness. It doesn't mean you're the darkness. It means the knower of the darkness. So as you go in to be the knower of the darkness, maintaining your center, breathing, well, you'll be the first one ready to turn that into its opposite and open to yin. And you'll be the first person back to spring back and help create the world of justice and equality that we're all looking for and that we need. So what I wanted to be able to do is to share both with why Carol invited us without being able to show you all of the togetherness of being in a room. So when I'm talking now to this computer screen, I'm not talking to an abstraction. I'm talking to the beautiful faces that we were able to see here this morning, who'd come to church, who shared with one another, sometimes very far away from each other, and how valuable that is when you can speak to someone's heart from far away. We all know how our spirits shine when we call mom and dad, or we call our grandchildren, and we say, oh my goodness, you just light up. And if you can see an image, even better, you're connecting as if you're there. And yet we miss that hug, we miss that touch, we miss that human connection. But in Tai Chi, you've already got that going on in terms of balance and play. And you can feel all of the other people moving with it. And so you don't need to do Tai Chi. It doesn't need to be Tai Chi for you. You're already doing it right now, this morning. The whole idea is that you kept practice, you adapted, you rolled with the water, and you're roaring back out into the new reality, unafraid and full of light. And it was an absolute pleasure just to be able to share that little vignette of a perspective with you for what it was like for me to go from March till now. And instead of looking at it as, well, that was terrible, that was a new becoming, right? A new birth. And now we are different. And I'm so glad because now I get to be with Carol, which is wonderful. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Sean. That was wonderful. Melissa wants to introduce our next hymn.
Hey there. So our final hymn, the meditation on breathing, is first of all more appropriate than I had originally realized when I started researching, as it is a chorus from a song that was written in 2001, right after 9/11, which we have just passed the anniversary of. And it is a chant in which your goal is to repeat the same words over and over again. And I want you to think about the idea of using them as a breathe in and breathe out. So the words will be on the screen, but really as you listen, you should be able to catch it and follow the chant as we repeat it about 10 times through. So enjoy.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
And we will now extinguish this chalice. Please say these words with me in your home if you would like. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. These final words were by Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.